Good day, everybody. Sue Johnson here. Welcome to my channel. And if you're new, it's nice to meet you. Today we're going to talk about mock cable knitting and what it's like when something is new. How fun that is. Thanks for stopping by. I do appreciate you. Yeah, you. I knew you'd come back. Good to see you. Okay, here we are. Knitting. I will have some images of works in progress, things I've started. I've got like 5 or 6 things on the go. But what I wanted to talk about was the new skill I learned. I'm a beginning knitter. The new thing I learned was mock cable. So I know how to do cables with the little twisted pin. I think I have it over here. I do. I don't know what you call this thing. It's a little unit that helps you work out your cables. So that would be a traditional type cable, I suppose. This is a mock cable, and once you learn the mock cable, there's different variations of it. So I'm going to talk about that and also mention how learning new things creates a routine and pattern in our life. We can follow the pattern, rest in it, and then we can deviate from the pattern just to keep life a little bit interesting. So watch on. Let me know what you think. Here's my sample. See how the little cable twists up to the right? I like the effect. It's very subtle. It's small. And it's stretched out a little bit so you can see the curves. There's definitely a right side and a wrong side. And the wrong side just looks like knit 2, purl 2, which is part of the pattern. But in order to create the mock, the twist in the pattern, you create a different stitch out of 4 rows. I'll explain to you. I'll show it to you in a moment. So as you're knitting along, you've set the pattern up, knit 2, purl 2, and so forth, and then you come back to this specific row where you're going to create the twisted stitch. So you go into the center of 2 stitches. I'll show that to you. So there's your 2 stitches. They're knit stitches. You knit them together, but you don't slip it off your needle, not yet. What you want to do is go in the middle of those 2 stitches and knit one more time, and then you can slip it off your needle. Now in this case I've done a knit 2, purl 2 ribbing. So now I come back to the 2 knitted stitches. I knit them together. Don't take it off your needle yet. Just go in the middle of those, knit that back stitch, and then off the needle. And there you go. That's how you create that twist. It's actually called a twisted stitch. Learning how to knit a mock cable. So I say to myself, like, what did I gain by even learning this stitch? Well, I learned how to follow instructions. Sometimes when you're knitting and you're following instructions, and if it's something new that you're learning, a new technique, a new stitch, a new pattern, when you're following the instructions, it's like you don't know where you're going with this. You're just sort of blindly knitting, purling, passing over stitches, yarn over, whatever it's asking you to do in the pattern. You're just blindly following along, unless you've done it before. But if it's new, if it's the first time you're going through it, it's like, where is this going? How is this going to end up? What is it going to look like? Am I even doing it right? So you have all these self-doubt questionings that are going on. But you follow along, sort of blindly, not knowing how the instruction is going to turn out. And then eventually you begin to see the pattern. Perhaps there's 4 rows that you have to complete, maybe 6 or 8 rows you have to complete before you actually see the pattern forming as the designer intended. So then it becomes rewarding, because then you can see where you're going. Then you can say, well, okay, now I get it. Now I understand. And you can look at a picture of somebody who's already completed the pattern, don't take a look at them, you take a look at the pattern. You can look at that, but doing it is still a whole different matter. You're just trying to go through the steps and follow the rows until what you have is showing up. So one of my goals is to stretch my skills, learn new techniques in knitting. And by learning the mock cable, which I realized to do that, it has what is called a twisted stitch. By learning those things, I improve my level of confidence by doing it. And usually, if you improve your confidence and your sense of satisfaction in one area of life, it will spill over into other areas of life. So when I was working away on it, at first it seemed very complicated, and I had to pull it out a few times and start over, cast on 18 stitches and work each row as it went along. But eventually the pattern, the lines, the rows, the stitches, it all began to make sense to me. And one of the ways it began to make sense is I began to recognize the different way that stitches show up. For example, a purl stitch usually has a bump. A knit stitch has a curved line to it, on recognizing it on your needle. So you can begin to recognize those things, and then you can, if you've done a yarn over, for example, then you can recognize where your hole is going to be and so forth. So you begin to recognize the stitches in the pattern, which helps you not make mistakes. It helps you be accurate in what you're doing. So we trust in the pattern, and with that we relax. We relax with the pattern because we know there's a beginning, a middle, and an end goal. And there's satisfaction at reaching the end goal. We know there will be easy parts for the pattern and difficult parts and rows that are more interesting. We follow the pattern and we get to an end, hopefully one where we're satisfied. I enjoyed learning how to knit the mock cable. Now it's fun. I could use it when knitting mittens in the winter. Or I could be like my 94-year-old friend who knits mittens in the summer. Now that's interesting because all kinds of patterns, and we learn to follow those patterns. And with that, we gain a sense of routine and security and confidence. And we have a certain level of peace as we're going along because we know that the pattern is an ABC, 1, 2, 3, we follow it, we're going to get the end result. It's like mathematics. 2 plus 2 is always going to have the same answer. No fractions there. So it's interesting that once we learn life patterns, and I really believe this, we learn life patterns, we can become more secure and at ease and restful. And then we can deviate from the patterns. Like my 94-year-old friend who knits mittens in the summer. So she's deviating from a routine, a pattern in life. Well, thanks for watching, listening. I will include the 4 rows for the mock pattern, the mock cable, in the description box below. And any comments, share them on. I'd be grateful, happy to hear them, and can respond. So talk to you later. Bye.